speak on the 12th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. So the model which I use for Bhagavad Gita is to have, Prabhu, can you enable screen sharing for me so that I'll share some notes. I've made some notes. So generally when we study Bhagavad Gita, we study it in acronyms. So this particular chapter, we have created an acronym, or I'm borrowing this acronym from this devotee. Now he is a sannyasi. Swayam Bhagavan Keshav Maharaj. So he came up with a book, Bhagavad Gita in acronyms. So all the themes of Bhagavad Gita have been, all the chapters have been broken into themes, and the themes have been nicknamed by a rememberable format, something which is easy to recall. So that way, it becomes easier for us to recall the themes and then relate it to our practical life. So this section of Bhagavad Gita, 12th chapter, we can call it as God, G-O-D, because here directly this is dealing with devotional service. As you must have heard from Ajit Prabhu, how Bhagavad Gita in particular talks about Sambandha Gyan. So there are 3 sections in the whole Vedic literature. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu divided this into 3 parts: Sambandha, Abhidheya, and Prayojan. Or in terms of business, because most of you are entrepreneurs, so maybe you understand that lingo better. So you can see it as mission, vision, and the way to get there. So mission is what we are doing right now, where we are at present. Supposing I am, for example, I'm in Kolkata, I'm in Panihati. So this is my mission, my current status. And suppose I want to go to Delhi. So that becomes my vision, where I want to go to, where I want to get to. And then comes the process. So the process is the way I get there. I mean, I can use an aircraft, I can use the train, I can use a bike all the way from Kolkata to New Delhi. So that becomes the process. So mission comes first, my current status comes first, then comes the vision, where I am right now, then where do I need to get to, and then comes the process. So Bhagavad Gita essentially deals with, mostly deals with the mission aspect. Our current situation, our current scenario, who are we? We are the spirit souls. We are servants of Krishna. We are supposed to serve him. Who is Krishna? Krishna is the supreme personality of Godhead. So we understand about Krishna in depth, we understand about ourselves in depth, and we understand the relationship with Krishna in depth. So that is the main focus of Bhagavad Gita. Not to say that Bhagavad Gita misses out on vision. No, it does talk about vision, love of Godhead, acquiring happiness. Generally, in this world, we acquire happiness by, we define happiness as fulfillment of desires. We have certain desires, and when these desires are fulfilled, so we claim that we are happy. But desires are based on gratification of the senses. Now, again, this again pushes us back into the material scenario. So it is not really satisfying. It does not content the heart. So therefore, real happiness is defined when we give service to others. Now, who is the right recipient of service? So Bhagavad Gita deals with this. Who is the right recipient? Krishna is the right recipient of service. So in order to understand who is the right recipient and how to serve him, so we have to read Bhagavad Gita. So Bhagavad Gita is essentially dealing with the first aspect. So we talked about 3: mission, vision, and the process. So Bhagavad Gita talks more or less, it has got more focus on the mission aspect. So this 12th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, it has got 18 chapters, as you know, you are reading it. And the middle 6 chapters deal with devotional service. So just to summarize this whole chapter, I have put it in this way, GOD. So I'll share my screen so that we can have a look at what's in there. So GOD is God. G is Godhead. So the first 7 verses deal with Godhead. Srila Prabhupada used this expression Godhead to prove that Krishna is Godhead. He is the head amongst the gods. There are so many gods, there are so many Ishwaras, controllers. But Krishna is the head. He is the master. Therefore, Srila Prabhupada used, or I would say coined this expression, Godhead. So the first 7 verses deal with this. And please don't, don't get confused if you see too many notes here. They are just for your reference. I'll share this file with Ajita Prabhu. He can send it to you, and you can use it as a reference point for understanding Bhagavad Gita. So don't worry if it is too much of an information. But in order to summarize the whole chapter, this was the least I could do. I can't really squeeze it more because there is so much. We can't just neglect it. So, starting with the 12th chapter, Krishna says, Bhakti is greater than impersonalism. So, there are 2 schools of thought when it comes to spirituality. One is the personal school and another is the impersonal school. So, Arjun begins the chapter with this very question, that who is better? Those who meditate on your personal form as the person, those who are impersonal. Those who say you do not have a personality and it's only impersonal, it is just light, it is just something abstract up there in the clouds. Even clouds have shape. So even when we look at faces, we look at trees, there is a general tendency for us to draw out smileys because we want to see a face, we want to relate it with a person. So Krishna proves, and he stresses on this point, that bhakti is better than impersonalism. Especially in 12.2, he uses these Sanskrit expression mai, which means upon me. He uses this expression thrice. Mam, me, me, which means me again. So he's stressing on this point, me. So it's like in Hindi, we can call it someone saying me. So who does me? Basically, that's a goat. A goat is used to doing me. So a person who is talking too much about himself, generally we tend to think, oh, this guy is very egoistic. But no, Krishna says that is the person who talks about me, who focuses on me. He's Yukta Tama. He is the most perfect in yoga. And who is saying this? Yogeshwara himself. He's the master of all mysticism. So he says, one who focuses on me. So it's all about Krishna as a person. So basically, Bhagavad Gita says here straight away that we need to deal with Krishna as person. The supreme absolute truth has 3 aspects as stated in Srimad Bhagavatam: Brahma, Paramatma, Bhagavan. So Bhagavan, he is a person, Jnanavan, Shaktiman, Bhaktiman, Bhagavan. He comprises, or he encompasses the 6 opulences in full. And then he's focusing on the next verses. They talk in terms of the practice and realization. So when it comes to practice, the impersonalists, they meditate on formless, which is difficult for the embodied. See, because we are body, so it is difficult for us. It is kind of unmanifest. Unmanifest means it is beyond the senses. It is not indriya gochara. You can't perceive it with the senses. So it restricts the senses. Now, in order to understand the Brahman, we need to study the Upanishads, which means we need to learn Sanskrit and understand the non-perceptual feelings. So it's kind of crazy. It's very difficult. It takes a long practice. And a very long practice itself makes the process difficult to take up bhakti. Bhakti is easy. Impersonalism is difficult. It is troublesome because there is no relationship. See, in order to cultivate a relationship, you need a person. And if there is no person involved, how can you have a relationship? So in this world, we are looking out for relationships. In fact, statistics speak out. Our Ajita Prabhu, Avelo Prabhu, he can justify or testify this, that how many people are looking out for relationships on the internet. Talk about all the social networking sites, Facebook. People are networking. They want to have relationships. They are looking out for relationships. In fact, it says 90% of the time people are chatting with their own family members on social media. So basically, they are into relationships, right? So when there is no relationship, it's very troublesome. And it depends on our own endeavor. Now, coming to personalism, the personalists, they serve a form of deity, which makes it easier for the embodied. The senses can perceive the deity, the sound of the mantras, which means the senses are engaged. So it's not negating it, rather it's engaging the senses. The personals, they understand Krishna. Devotional service, the way to understand Krishna is devotional service. And how do they do it? Simply by chanting Hare Krishna Mahamantra. So I presume that many of you are already into chanting, because we are dealing with Bhagavad Gita, not some wishy-washy secular stuff. We are directly dealing with religion here, spirituality in action. So it's about chanting Hare Krishna Mahamantra. See, mantras have power. Sound has got images. All of us are used to this when people call out some tasty, very strong words, and then we react. Why do we react? Because sound carries images. Even all these instruments available nowadays, when you play a particular frequency, there's a vibration, and the vibration, it vibrates the plate and there's sand on it, and it produces a particular form or figurine, which means sound carries images. Similarly, when we chant mantras, so they make impressions on our consciousness. There is chitta. Then when you drop an impression, it is known as vritti. It's like a very calm and peaceful lake. There's no movement. But the moment you drop a stone, there are ripples. So the calm and peaceful lake can be compared to chitta, our consciousness, and a small thought, desire dropped into it can be compared to vritti. So there are ripples. So it has got patterns. So similarly, when you chant mantras, there are positive patterns which work on our consciousness. So bhakti begins with chanting. Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam. I'm sure reading Bhagavad Gita, Srila Prabhupada's as it is version, you must have come across this. And then Prabhupada focuses on this, that this chanting or this devotional service must be undertaken while we take or accept guidance of a bona fide spiritual master. So guidance is very important. See, all of you are entrepreneurs. Our Ajita Prabhu, he is a business trainer. So in a way, he is acting as a spiritual master, right? You need a trainer. Even a cleaner in the truck, he calls his driver as Ustad. So even for a cleaner, you need an Ustad, how to clean the truck. For learning any subject, you need a teacher. Then when it comes to bhakti, when it comes to devotional service, when it comes to spirituality, why do people consider that it is all abstract? You can do it your own way. You don't need any guide. It's all inside you. It's all within you. Arey Baba, but you need someone to unleash or uncover that which is really inside you. It cannot be done by one's own endeavors. Otherwise, why do we need textbooks? Why do we need manuals? Why do we need training? Why this class? You could have read Bhagavad Gita by yourself and have understood it. But the whole reason we are having this session is because we need guidance. And the important and essential point here is we need guidance of a bona fide spiritual master, which means they're coming in a disciplic succession. It's a succession of disciples, which means every person in the succession is a disciple to the previous person, right? They have understood it through parampara, which means there is no manipulation, there is no change, there is no addition, there is no alteration. It is coming as it is. And then Bhagavad Bhakti, devotional service, comprises of hearing the glories of the Lord. So this hearing must be done from bona fide sources. And definitely the most relishable and the most doable part of it, eating prasadam. It's quite easy. It's relishable. We like it. We love it. But generally we want to avoid making it ourselves, because then that's too tedious. I mean, it's a hell lot of a job. Go out in the market, purchase the right ingredients, cut them, prepare them, rinse them, mix them nicely, and then offer it with love. Maybe difficult for some people, but definitely eating, relishing, honoring prasadam is the most relishable aspect of bhakti. What is the result? The miseries are mitigated. How? By relationship with Krishna. So you see, Bhagavad Bhakti, devotional service, is a very practical process. It is not a philosophy meant for armchair speculators, as Srila Prabhupada puts it. Those who sit in their armchair on a Sunday and then take out some book or magazine and read some stuff here and there. Oh, country is going through very bad times. People should get up. They should start addressing. All these armchair speculators have been brushed away by Srila Prabhupada. How do you do it? By relationship with Krishna. So in a relationship is reciprocal in nature. It's not a one-way traffic. So for any relationship to work, it has to come from both the sides. So we serve Krishna and Krishna reciprocates accordingly. This famous verse from the 12th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, Ye yathamam prapadyante tam sathaiva bhajamyam. As they surrender to me, I reciprocate accordingly. So basically, Bhagavad Bhakti is a two-way traffic. It's not like, oh, I love my dog and I speak with my dog. Oh, did you have your dog food? Were you feeling all right? I was in office all the day. And the dog also says, oh, yeah, it was very boring throughout the day. The dog food was not very tasty. And these neighbors, they disturbed me all the day. I was waiting for you. The dog does not respond. At most, what the pet dog does is just wave the tail. So you see, it's not reciprocal in nature, or the reciprocation is not so profound. But when it comes to bhakti, then the relationship is very, very profound. And Krishna delivers the devotee from Maya. Mrityu samsara sagarat. For those of you who have read Bhagavad Gita, for those of you who have Srila Prabhupada's Bhagavad Gita, in some editions of the Bhagavad Gita, there is a photograph where Krishna comes on Garuda and this devotee who is drowning into the ocean of miseries. So he puts out his hand and pulls Tesham ahun samudarta mrityu samsara sagarat. So he pulls out the devotee from this ocean of misery. So Krishna delivers the devotee from Maya because Krishna himself recommends. And why does he do so? Because ultimately he is our father, he is our mother, he is our grandsire. Pita hamasya jagato mata dhata pitam. He is claiming, Baba, I am your father, I am your mother, I am your grandfather, I am your everything. In fact, the food that we digest, you will come to learn about it in the 15th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. Even the digestive fire inside of our stomach, that is Krishna's vibhuti. It is Krishna's energy. So Krishna is encompassing our whole existence. How can we get rid of him? I am the taste of water. I am the fire of the sun and the moon. So there is no way we can get rid of Krishna. There is no way we can run away from him. Why does he do it? Out of paternal love and by his causeless mercy. So it is causeless. It is just done out of love. Basically, there is no cause for it. It's causeless in nature. Then, in terms of, we talked about in terms of practice. Now we talk about bhakti in terms of realization. So when it comes to Brahman, the impersonal aspect of the Supreme Absolute, Brahman by its very nature is nirguna, without qualities. It is inconceivable. You can't conceive it, you can't define it because there's no shape, there's no form, there's no sound, there's no color, there's no depth, there's no length, no breadth, no width, no height. So basically, you cannot quantify it in terms of dimensions. It is all pervading, cannot perceive opulence, which means there is a lack of activity. And what is the risk one runs? One runs the risk of not realizing the absolute truth, which may also turn one towards atheism. And Brahman, when we study Brahman or when we realize Brahman, so there are three aspects of the absolute truth. Sat, Chit, Anand. So we understand only the Sat and the Chit aspects of it. Sat means the eternity, that Brahma is eternal, Nitya, Shashvata, Sanatana. There is no end to it. And Chit, it's full of knowledge. But there is no Ananda. And by our very nature, a jiva, a spirit soul, is seeker of pleasure. Anandamaya Abhyasat. We are seeking pleasure. Now, the common factor when it comes to Brahman and Bhagavan is both of them are unchanging, they are fixed, and they are immovable. Bhagavan in particular is Saguna, which means he's with form, with qualities. He possesses inconceivable potencies, unlimited potencies. He's all pervading by his energy as the super soul. In terms of energy, he's everywhere because he pervades everything through his light. Sun lies somewhere in the universe at a place, but sun pervades the entire universe by the agency of the light, sunlight. So in that sense, sun is everywhere. But again, sun as an object, so to say, lies in one place. Similarly, Krishna, Bhagavan, he stays in his abode, Golok Vrindavan. But by the agency of his energies, he pervades the entire existence. And as super soul, he is living, he is staying with us within our hearts. Suhridam Sarva Bhutanam. He is the best friend. We are searching out for this friend anywhere and everywhere. The scientists have tried to break open the atom and look inside. All they could find was neutrons and protons. Maybe some electrons. But then what is inside that? As Krishna says in the 7th chapter, he is the thread on which all the pearls are strung. Mattah parataram nanyat kinchit asti dhananjaya mai sarvamidam protam suktre maniganaiva. So the good characteristic of a nice garland is that you can't see the thread. You can only see the flowers. Especially when it comes to, we have seen in ISKCON temples. Before I went to so many temples, even in what to speak of temples, when they decorate the dead bodies of the erstwhile presidents and prime ministers, even then you can see the threads. I mean, they don't even know how to garland them properly. But from the day I joined ISKCON and I've seen how devotees worship the deities, you see such nice garlands. You can't see the thread. So that is the essential characteristic of a good garland or a good necklace. You can't see the thread. So the scientists are trying to break open everything and anything and trying to see where is the thread, what is the basis of all this. So Krishna is the basis. But why can't we see it? Because we do not hear it from the parampara, from a bona fide spiritual master. One does not really follow bhakti, devotional service. Bhakti in Srila Prabhupada's books has been translated as devotional service, which means there is a practical aspect of it, which means one needs to serve the deity, which means one needs to serve the devotees. So service in action is required. Otherwise, it is limited to some philosophy. Again, coming to our points, Bhagavan, he is the possessor of 6 opulences in full. Aishwaryasya, Samagrasya, Viryasya, Yashasa, Shriya, Jnana, Vairagyasya, Shannam, Bhagamitim Gana. Oh my God. I will just give you a small acronym within the big acronym. So the formula which we created to remember this was Westfa Bakery. So West, WE stands for wealth. ST stands for strength. FA, the famous perfume brand, stands for fame. B stands for beauty. Capital B. K stands for knowledge. And R stands for renunciation. So the 6 opulences of Krishna put in a nutshell together, Westfa Bakery. I am from engineering background, so we used to do a lot of acronyms to remember these difficult expressions and terms. Maybe you can relate to it. Vespa Bakery, it's a bakery based somewhere in the western region of the world, and uh, nearby it was the famous brand Fa. Vespa Bakery. So wealth, strength, fame, beauty, knowledge, and renunciation. Krishna is the embodiment of these six in full. That's Krishna. So this is from Vishnu Puran. Mind you, this is coming from the text, coming from the Purana itself. So he is the possessor of six opulences in full. He has got unlimited opulences, but you can categorize those unlimited opulences into six major categories. So Krishna is the embodiment of these six opulences to the highest degree. He's the possessor of wealth. He's Dhanavan. He's the possessor of strength. He's Balavan. Krishna is Lakshmipati. So we can't really use the term Daridra Narayan, serving some poor guy out there and calling him Narayan. Are Baba, Krishna is the husband of goddess of fortune. How can he be Daridra? If you use the expression Daridra Narayan, that means there is Dhani Narayan also present, which means Narayan should also be present inside goats, pigs, hens, fishes. So how can one Narayan eat another Narayan? If Narayan inside me, how can I eat Narayan inside the goat? Then why do I not see Narayan inside the lion? Does it mean when the lion comes, I go and embrace the lion? Oh, Narayan is inside you? No, on the bodily platform, we have to distinguish. We have to discriminate. It's not that liberal philosophy, everything is one, it's all one, we are all one, treat everyone equally. No. Our Acharya says, Takale samana karite shakati deho natha jatha jatha. We have to deal with people, we have to give them all sorts of respects as per what they deserve. Jatha jatha. Bhagavad Gita yatha yatha, as it is. So what they deserve, we have to give them that. We can't treat people equally. Everyone is not equal. So Krishna is wealth. He's the husband of fortune personified. He's the most strong person. Krishna is a small child. He lifted the Govardhan hill. Now to lift a hill, Girivar Dhari. So people want to imitate the Gopijan Vallabh aspect of him. How Krishna is the Gopijan Vallabha. But they do not want to follow the Girivar Dhari. Then fame. He's very famous. He's teaching Bhagavad Gita. Till date, we are studying it 5,000 years down the line. No second edition, no altercation. So he's very famous. He's the most beautiful. There's a nice picture in Chaitanya Charitamrita, even in Krishna book. So Krishna is looking down on the floor in Dwaraka and he sees the mirror polished floor and he sees his own image and he gets attracted to the image. Oh, how beautiful. Oh, really? So handsome. He gets attracted to his own image. Generally, we have this tendency to get attracted to our own image. So to say, even when I look at this camera, I can see my own picture and maybe I'll get attracted to my own image. Oh my God, stunning looks. But the reality is it looks like a boiled potato now without any black thing at the top. Without any hair, I look more or less like a boiled potato. But still we are attracted. So Krishna is the most attractive. He attracts everyone. Therefore, his name is Krishna. Sarvakarshaka. He is all attractive. Knowledge. Speak of Bhagavad Gita, speak of Bhagavatam. The knowledge imparted by Krishna is the best. Renunciation. Even though Krishna is in the midst of so many gopis, he can leave the Ras Leela. As Lord Ramachandra, he is about to get the best of the kingdoms, Ayodhya, and he renounces it. So that shows he is the possessor of supreme renunciation. And when it comes to Bhagavan, bhakti, it is guaranteed success. And one can realize such Chetanananda, eternity, knowledge, and bliss. Now we come to O, G-O-D. O is options. So we have so many options. Basically, we have 4 options here, 5 options here. I can put the screen here. Yes. So 12.8, it speaks about mind being fixed on Krishna. So there are progressive stages of devotion. 12.8, it talks about the highest level of bhakti with minds fixed on Krishna. One lives in relationship with Krishna, transcendental from very beginning. Service leads to realization and refers to those who have already developed their attachment to Krishna. They are seeing Krishna everywhere. Mayyeva manadatsva, may buddhim niveshya, nivasishyasi mayyeva atarubam na samshaya. Krishna guarantees there is no one better than him. Refers to the highest platform. And rest of all, you go to hell. No. Krishna gives an option. If you can't do that, Atachitta samadhatum no shaknushi maistharam abhyasa yogena tato chaptum dhanajaya. If you can't do what is stated in 12.8, do this. Follow the regulative principles of sadhana bhakti, which means develop a desire to attain Krishna. It refers to those who have not yet developed such attachment as mentioned in 12.8. In this verse, Srila Prabhupada defines Bhakti Yoga. It means purification of senses by following prescribed rules and regulations. What are these prescribed rules and regulations? Which means accept the guidance of a spiritual master, rise early in the morning. Krishna says it for all brahmacharis, sannyasis, grihasthas, staying at home, staying in hotels, for everyone. Everyone must rise early in the morning, which means early to bed, early to rise makes a man healthy, wealthy, and wise. So one must get up early in the morning. There's no compromise. Bhakti doesn't work like that. Offer prayers, do Mangala Arthrik, chant Hare Krishna Mahamantra, offer flowers, cook and honor prasadam. Constantly hear Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam from pure devotee. And so on, and many more. Prabhupada writes, and many more. So these are some rules and regulations. So if you can't remember Krishna throughout the day, spontaneously, wherever you see Krishna, or you see everything in relationship with Krishna, if you can't do like that, then follow Abhyas Yoga, Sadhana Bhakti, which means follow these instructions. If you can't do that, Krishna gives third option. He's giving so many options. So you see, Bhakti is so user-friendly. It's a very tailor-made process. If you can't do this, do this, do this, do this. So you have so many options here. So 12.10. Abhyasapya asamarthosi. Mat karma paramo bhava. Madarthamapi karmani kurvan siddhima apsasi. You will come to the stage of devotional service by working for Krishna. What does it mean? It says being sympathetic to propagation of Krishna consciousness. So one should be sympathetic to the cause of Krishna consciousness. Prabhupada explicitly states, he says, every endeavor needs land, capital, organization, and labor. So if you are sympathetic to propagation of bhakti, help, donate. If you can't rise early in the morning, see, it's not an escape route, but it's an option. If you can't rise early in the morning, if you can't chant Hare Krishna, if you can't offer flowers, if you can't cook bhoga for Krishna, can't honor prasadam, if you can't hear Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam, okay, then become a donor. Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am. Please become a donor now. You donate land. We need capital for building our temples. We need organization. We need systems. Please help us set up systems. We need labor, physical labor also. We need people who can really come down and do the groundwork. Yes. So all this is for those. Doesn't mean that those who are offering flowers or cooking or honoring prasadam or hearing Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavatam, they will not help in this. But those who can't do that, Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam, the angas, the limbs of sadhan bhakti, they can at least do this. Become sympathetic to the propagation of Krishna consciousness. Donate for land. We need money, we need capital. We have 80G, 12A. We will give you all income tax benefits as much as possible. So become a donor. If you can't become a donor, okay, then better than that. See, better than becoming a donor is rising early in the morning. Prabhupada says, every devotee, I'm quoting from Nectar of Instructions, Upadeshamrita. The purport to the third verse, Srila Prabhupada says, every devotee must rise at 4 p.m. in our Krishna consciousness, 4 a.m. in our Krishna consciousness movement. So all those who claim to be devotee, bhakta, spiritualists, practitioners, must get up at 4 a.m. Mangal Aarti. And third canto, first chapter, last verse, Prabhupada again says the same point. Get up at 4 a.m. in the morning. So getting up early, chanting Hare Krishna. Oh, I can't chant Hare Krishna. It's too much of an endeavor. See, my mind is so distracted. I'm so busy. We can give all the reasons in the whole world. Okay, if you can't do that, then become a donor. Krishna is himself soliciting donations here. It's not my fault, sir. Please, you can build a temple. You can help in publications. We got so many books. If you can't even do that, now someone will say, okay, I'm so busy. I've got so many commitments. There is EMI. I have to pay for my mobile. I have to pay for my flat. I have to pay for my car. I have to pay for the marriage. I have to pay for the debts. I'm taking one debt to get rid of another debt. I have to pay so many. Basically, I am all caught up. Then Krishna says, okay, if you can't do that, then at least practice renunciation, cultivation of knowledge, and meditation. At least do that. It leads to purification, peace, and gradual elevation, which means give up results of work, which means to do social service, community service, national service. But the problem here is, by doing this, we can get caught up in the cycle of saying and trying to escape that, after all, I am doing what Krishna says in 12.11. Because in 12.2, 12.12, precisely Krishna says that better than this is to work for Krishna. And better than that is to follow regulative principles of bhakti. And of course, the best is having the mind fixed on Krishna. So you see, it's a progressive ladder. And Krishna makes us fall into that kind of infinite for loop. For I is equal to 0, I less than n, I plus plus. I remember that having in C++ some decades back. So it makes us go into that, through that loop, infinite loop, again and again and again. So best thing is to fix mind on Krishna. If one can do that, that's the best. If you can't do that, follow regulations of sadhana bhakti, which means purification of senses by practicing prescribed rules and regulations, which means all this and so on. I forgot to add it, and so on, and many more. If you can't do that, then work for Krishna. If you can't do even that, then do some social work here and there. But the problem with this is, Krishna says, better than this is this. And then better than this is this. And then the best is this. So Krishna makes it very clear. He doesn't leave any room for speculation. And then the last final section, D, devotee's disposition. 12.13 to 20 talks about the qualities that endear one to Krishna. So basically, there are two categories of these qualities. One we call as the essential qualities, or in Sanskrit, we call it as the Swarupa Lakshanam, and another is ancillary or Tatastha Lakshanam. Now, the Swarupa Lakshan, the essential quality is Bhaktiman. All of us have seen the serial Shaktiman, where Mukesh Khanna was the Shaktiman. But no, prior to that, 5,000 years prior to that, Krishna says, I love one who is Bhaktiman, which means one who is the possessor of Bhakti, which means devotional service for Lord. Now, this is the essential or the Swarupa Lakshanam, which means based on this, every single quality that comes in this whole section, there are 26 qualities which have been mentioned here. So 25 of them are ancillary or Tatastha, they are secondary. But Bhaktiman, this is the primary. Even in Chaitanya Charitamrita, there are 26, there's a mention of 26 qualities of a devotee. And in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna mentions 26 qualities. There are different set of qualities. Some are common. Bhaktiman being the most important. So all these 25 qualities, they can be broken down into 4 categories. One is attitude towards the self. Nirmama. Idam Krishnaya, idam namama. This is for Krishna, this is not for me. Free from false ego. Gata Vyatha, one is pain-free. Sarvarambha Parityagi. So if you go into the details of it, when you read Bhagavad Gita at your leisure, at your time, there is a big explanation given by Srila Prabhupada. I'm not getting into that because the purpose of this class is to give you a gist. And then the second category being dealing with other living entities, how this person, a devotee, he deals with others. So first quality is anasuyave, non-envious. So envy means basically the love which was meant for me came to you, so I'm envious of you. This famous brand Onida TV, he had a hairdo like me, and he had two some things coming out from here, horns, and it said neighbors envy owner's pride. So neighbor was envious when you would purchase Onida TV, and the owner would become a proud person. But according to Bhagavad Gita, neither envy nor pride is a good quality. So being envious is not good. A devotee is not envious, equal to friends and enemies, because he possesses the spiritual vision. Udasina, which means without care, neutral, is always free from contaminating association, which means he keeps away from those who do not really contribute to his growth, the do's and don'ts of bhakti, those who are in the middle of it, those who do not allow us to practice spirituality, to go ahead, push ourselves forward. We stay away from their contaminating association. And a devotee is silent. He practices silence, which means he does not speak nonsense. So whenever we open our mouths, we should speak whatever makes sense. Then the reactions when things happen to him, he's satisfied, self-controlled, which means he's in control of his response. He is not reactive, or he is proactive, so to say. Tolerant. So many things in life. It's always a graph which goes ups and downs. There are waves. So a person should be tolerant. Equipoised in happiness and distress. So we should not get too inflated when we are happy, and neither should we go too low when we are distressed. Anapekshaka, which means neutral again. Shuchihi, pure. So one has to maintain purity of thoughts and purity of conduct. Daksha, which means expert, neither rejoices nor grieves over any loss or gain, neither laments nor desires, transcendental in auspicious and inauspicious and sinful acts, equipoised in dualities. So there is duality in life. There is cold, there is heat, there is distress, there is happiness, there is winter right now, there will be summer after some months. So devotee is not really distressed by these dualities. Happiness comes, happiness goes. Distress comes, distress goes. Heat comes, heat goes. Cold waves come, cold waves go away. So one should learn to stay neutral throughout all these changes. And how does one practice to do that? Do you remember the second verse from the second chapter, 13th verse or 14th verse? What was the verse?
Matra spashyastu kante.
Shitoshna
Ita ushna sukadakada.
Dukada. Agam apaino anityams. And the one prior to it? Dehinosmin kaumaram yamanam jara tata dehandar prapti dhiras tatra na muhyati. A sober person is not bewildered by such a change. Body is going to change. Today I was coming back from Mayapur, and this one fellow vendor in the train, he called me Kaka, and I said, "Wow, I'm not Kaka. I'm a young guy. I'm a youngster. Don't call me Kaka." I felt so bad because I'm still not so sober. But a sober person is not bewildered by such a change. So what is Bhagavad Gita teaching us? Bhagavad Gita is teaching us to stay neutral, to stay fixed amidst all these changes. How? By identifying our role as subordinate to Krishna, as Krishna's servant. Then a devotee does not care for any anxieties. Dealings with the Lord, he's very determined when it comes to practicing bhakti. Mind and intelligence are fixed entirely on the Supreme Lord, and Bhaktiman engaged in devotional service and fixed. So basically, this is a short and maybe sweet presentation on what I could gather. So I think time is getting over, so we should stop here. Thank you so much for tolerating me. Hare Krishna. Jai Shri Prabhupada.
Thank you so much, Radhapada Prabhu. That was so beautifully broken down into baby food, so we could digest it very simply and easily. Ujjwal Prabhu is saying, wow, can you please share this PDF on chat? So insightful. Yes, Prabhu, he promised he'll share the PDF. We'll share it in the Philosophy Friday group. Thank you very much, Radha. That was like really beautifully presented, simplified, and you covered everything. That was mind-blowing. Okay, so if you have any questions for Prabhuji, please feel free to type in the chat section or unmute yourself and ask. So while we are waiting for people to muster up the courage to ask you questions, okay, there is a question. Pinky Mataji is asking, this is wonderful, Prabhuji. Do you have another chapter presented like this?
I have all 18 chapters presented like this.
Awesome. Okay. Is there any other question?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam. I joined late for the session, but it was like so relatable that you could connect all the scriptures together, like just a small instance of 4 a.m. Then not only one scripture Prabhupada has translated or mentioned that 4 a.m. we should get for the Mangala Aarti. So it was so relatable, and I was like thinking that you remember all those and connect. It was like very beautiful, Prabhuji. Wonderful. We would like to look forward in case you can come again with completing one chapter and summarizing it for us. Would be really.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kushal Prabhu.
Good.
We can't hear you, but okay, thank you. All right. There's an anonymous question. I'm not mentioning the name.
Yeah.
He's asking how to deal with masturbation and habit of adult watching on internet.
There is a verse in Bhagavad Gita, Vishya Vinivartante Niraha Rasidehina, Rasavarjam Rasopesya Param Drishtani Vartate. So I will not mention the chapter and the verse number, you have to find it for yourself. But I did mention the verse. So it says basically it can be done. See, it's a very practical issue. We deal with it day in and out. The practical way to get rid of this bad habit is by replacing it with something better. A higher taste. So once we get higher taste in bhakti, then we can really get rid of these lower tastes. So you see, this habit is a result of getting involved too much into the modes of passion and ignorance. And bhakti deals with mode of goodness, more or less. Mode of goodness helps in bhakti. So it is not that we can't do bhakti if we are in modes of passion and ignorance, but leading a lifestyle in goodness is conducive to bhakti. So how can you get rid of it practically? One very good formula is to eat less at night, or better to avoid eating at all at night. If you see in Jain community, they do not eat after sunset. At least avoid grains, avoid foods that cause too much body heat. That is one way. So I'm talking on the physical platform, what we can start immediately. Another cause of this is watching porn. Why does one watch porn? Because we have so easy access to YouTube on our gadgets anywhere and everywhere. So one good way would be to disconnect yourself from Wi-Fi. And stop using data.
Good luck with that one.
So like we have Ekadashi fasting, you can have WhatsApp fasting, YouTube fasting for one day, half day. Start doing it. I mean, it's very practical. It helps. It helps. So this is on the physical platform. Now, basically one does this because there is something else going inside the mind. So you see the senses, as we talked in this chapter, the senses need engagement. So if you give them positive engagement, then they can really easily come out of the negative engagement. So one needs to get involved in reading, hearing, chanting, remembering, praying. And how do we do it? It is done in the association of devotees. So you see, Karma Yoga practiced alone, Jnana Yoga practiced alone, Ashtanga Yoga definitely alone. But Bhakti Yoga, Mat Chitta Madgata Prana Bodhayanta Parasparam, Kathayantascha Mam Nityam Tushyanti Charamanti Cha. Remember 10th chapter, 9th verse, Chatushloki. So Bhagavad Bhakti is practiced in the association of devotees. So once you are in positive association, then it really becomes difficult to get into nonsensical habits or practice viewing social media only when you are in public. So again, it becomes very, it's very shameful for one to watch porn publicly, unless and until the group is also very negative. So these are some practical tips on how to get rid of this bad habit. Hare Krishna. I hope it helps.
Akshat is asking, Prabhuji, can you give insight on relationship?
That's God.
Vague. Akshat, can you be more specific? While you're rewriting your question, Krishna was asking, wonderful class and all the wonderful glorifications. Prabhuji, any practical tip on studying Bhagavad Gita every day?
Any practical tip on studying every day? Study it every day.
Pinky Mataji is asking, how do we realize and get rid of toxic relationships, Prabhuji?
See, in order to get rid of anything, you have to replace it with something positive. So the way to positive relationships is practicing bhakti. See, when we are in relationship, we remember that person again and again. When we are trying to be in relationship with Krishna, we are trying to remember Krishna again and again. So that's why we chant his names. That's why we hear about him. That's why we read about him. That's why we serve him in his deity form. We cook food for him. We offer bhoga to him. We offer flowers at his lotus feet. We make garlands for him. We celebrate festivals for him. So all this is part of our relationship. So once we start doing that, then we can get rid of toxicity in our life. It will take some time, but we need to get involved in the positive side of it.
So if I may, Pinky Mataji, since I might know who you're referring to in your workplace, if you are dealing with somebody toxic, it's like cancer. It's just going to spread and destroy your consciousness, destroy your life. So better to cut it off as soon as possible. Operate. When there's a tumor, you operate it out, right? If that's somebody outside, if somebody who lives with you, then that's a different story altogether. We'll have a separate conversation. But if it's somebody you can get rid of, then get rid of that person and be out as soon as you can, or else the cancer will consume you. Okay, another anonymous question by the same person. Thank you, Prabhu. One more question. I do donate 10% of my income while unable to qualify as a devotee and don't ask for ATG certification also. Any tips? Should I donate more?
See, it's not about donating only. See, offering donations is good, but we want you to get involved more and more. We have the best example here, our Kolkata Ventures CEO. See, he is part of ISKCON and he is working in the outside world. He is a very successful businessman. What to speak of donating? He has donated his whole life. I mean, get involved. That is more important. Yeah, of course, we are soliciting donations, no doubt. I mean, if you want, I can send you our account number as well. More important than that is getting involved practically, more personal basis. See, giving donations is like getting rid of, ठीक है, पैसा दे दिया, छुट्टी करो, अभी और मत मांगो, जाओ. But practicing bhakti, it is more, it involves, it has, I mean, it's an endeavor. You need to put in your time and energy. We want your life. We just don't want your money. We want your life.
Look at him. Absolutely true. One time I was one of my services was guest store manager at Chicago Temple, and I think I forgot the keys or something. I messed up with the lock. So my mentor, he's a temple president. So he's like, you should be careful next time. I'm like, I'll pay for it. I will. Like such arrogance. Krishna does not need your money. Repent and don't repeat the mistake again. And that was very, for me, that was very important, that I was trying to kind of ward it off with money. Like, oh, okay, I made a mistake. I'll pay for it. It's done. But more important was to actually correct that callousness within the heart, that this is Krishna's gift store. This is Krishna's property, and I should be more careful. And that's the consciousness we are trying to cultivate here, not just donation, but Krishna doesn't need our money, Lakshmipati. But we are fortunate that we are able to give something in the service. So
getting money is very easy. Like having a block of marble and cutting tiles out of it. It's very easy. But to make a devotee is very difficult. And cultivating donors is easy stuff. I mean, let me put it very straight. It's very easy to give donations, but it's very difficult to give oneself.
Exactly. Okay, Sumit is saying, Hare Krishna, superb example, Prabhu, on donating time. Yes. All right. A lot of glorifications of you, Prabhuji, which I didn't actually read through. I was just focusing on the questions part. But yeah, there was a lot of appreciation for the way you presented and how beautifully the clarity that was there. Akshat is asking, Famo Prabhuji, I was asking how to act in front of a very enthusiastic person. Okay, so your previous question was, Prabhuji, can you give insight on relationship? And then when I said be specific, he said, I was asking how to act in front of a very enthusiastic person, matlab, high energy person.
In terms of what? I mean, what is the situation? It's a difficult question. It's very open-ended. I mean, I can respond.
It's very open-ended. Yeah, there is something more, Akshat Prabhu, not clear exactly what you're referring to, but I think you're asking about a social question. And if I may, when somebody is very enthusiastic, there is one way that says reflect the behavior. Go ahead.
Prabhu, like they actually they always they are very enthusiastic. They are way ahead of their time, and actually whenever we try to communicate, we don't communicate clearly. So like that, I was asking how we can go ahead with that relationship. Probably.
Radhapada Prabhu.
It's a long question. I mean, it requires quite a lot of explanation. So I think if you can probably just send it to me on WhatsApp, I'll try to answer it in an audio file, because it's time for another class. I'm just getting so again and again. Sorry for that.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, I just want to compliment before you finish the class. You have a smile which is very carefree, and it is a very enthusiastic smile, and I'm mesmerized with the smile you have. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Vibhuti Mati. Vibhuti Mati is a very successful entrepreneur from Delhi, and she donates a lot to cows. She's an amazing devotee. All right, I know Praveen Prabhu are really blessed to have this session. Okay, more appreciation. No more questions. Looking forward to future. Okay, Prabhuji, you have to keep coming back, because that's what devotees want. If you so desire, please kindly give us your association again. We are most grateful for your time, and we will end on time at exactly at 8:30. Thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki jai, His Grace Radhapada Prabhu ki jai. Hare Krishna.